Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the German Tier 7 Tech Tree medium tank, the VK3002D. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the 3002D. It is the tank of to derp or not to derp. Well, what I'm going to do is show you the first replay, which is going to be with the short 88mm gun, which is probably the best way to play the tank, quite honestly. And then I'm going to show you 2 replays of just having some fun with the derp gun, because derp is love, derp is life, and that's just what we need to do on this channel. We just have some fun and have a laugh, and derping is the way forward for that. So, this short 88mm gun is a pretty decent gun. It's just got one real big problem, and that is it's lacking in penetration. So, this tank in general has a 60km/h top speed with a 20km/h reverse speed, 900 horsepower engine, is 22.69 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do get to 60 kph very, very easily, and the reverse speed is also fantastic. 15% internal fire chance means you're on the middle area of fire chances, and it does like getting set on fire. It's very German in that aspect. If you get shot in the front, it does like getting set on fire a bit, which can be a bit frustrating. So you've got 43 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which means this tank does turn fairly quickly, with a 48.87 degree a second turret traverse, which is absolutely fantastic. It means that this turret turns so fast that you get the gun snapped on target pretty damn quickly. You've got 486 meters of view range on this vehicle, which means you can spot for yourself pretty well, like you're going to see in this replay here on Prokhorovka. With the 326 meters of still concealment, that's actually pretty decent concealment. It's not great concealment, it's decent. You can knock that down even further with a camo net if you want to get it down to about 280, 290, which isn't too bad at all. But it's down to you and how you really want to play the vehicle. I don't run the camo net because the gun can be a bit annoying at times in terms of how much the aim circle actually blooms out, so I try and make it so I can aim in really, really quickly. So as you can see, the aim circle is massive from very little. So we've got a 48.87 degree second turret traverse, like I've said, because that is fantastic, but we have a 1.46 accuracy during rotation and a 3.25 accuracy during movement, which is utterly atrocious. It means the aim circle is absolutely massive on this vehicle, and it takes a wee while to get it aimed in. You do have a 1.86 second aim time with the build that I run, which means it does aim in very, very quickly, but it still takes a wee while just because of how big that aim circle is after you've turned the turret and the tank. And as you see, that aim circle does become large. It is one of the terrible features of this vehicle, which is why I do help it out with the aim time with a GLD. You've got 8 degrees of gun depression, which means you are pretty damn flexible on a ridgeline, though, in the 3002D, which is quite nice, meaning you can poke over ridgelines, spot quite easily, and not have to overexpose yourself to be able to dish out the shots and deal the damage, pretty much. We've got 0.31 accuracy at 100 meters as well, which is actually fairly accurate, but the 88mm gun on this tank does like the odd derp, so be very, very careful of that. You've got a 4.67 second reload, which is 2.8k DPM, which is absolutely fantastic for a Tier 7 medium tank. If you get left in a position and you put yourself in a position where you can farm with this vehicle, it racks up damage really, really quickly with this short 88mm gun. 145 pen on the standard AP is not the greatest, with 194 penetration on the premium APCR. Now that's where it does struggle in Tier 9 games, especially because that penetration is just not good enough for that. And in Tier 8 games, especially against some of the more heavily armoured vehicles, it can really struggle in that regard as well. 145 pen is just a bit of a letdown, to be perfectly honest, on the short 88. But that's really one of the... That and the accuracy during movement and rotation is 2 of the only real big downsides to this vehicle, quite honestly. And it doesn't really have much armour, but it has the kind of angles that you can get surprising ricochets. But to be fair, not many of the medium tanks at Tier 7 do have that much armour. With that penetration on the short 88mm gun, you do have 773 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, which is atrocious, and it adds to the derpy feeling of this gun. You really do have to give a lot of lead at distance to be able to hit your targets with this gun. And you've got 966 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR, which means that, again, it is below average in terms of the shell velocity, and you really have to give a decent amount of lead yet again to be able to hit the targets. The shell velocity on this vehicle really isn't that good on this short 88mm gun. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on this vehicle? Well, I run a pretty standard setup for a medium tank in general. I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, with the Advanced Loader, the GLD, and Optics. Optics to be able to get that 486 meters of view range so I can spot for myself quite effectively on different maps. The GLD to get the aim time down to that 1.86 because of how big the aim circle blooms out. I just like having the gun aim in faster. With the advanced loader to get the best out of the DPM, as you always really want to do. All 3 gun perks to make sure that this gun is as good as possible, because otherwise it is atrocious if you do not help it out. And then the camouflage expertise just to knock the camo down a little bit, same as the muffled shot to reduce the effect of firing on my camo, so that firing through bushes and concealment I can stay unspotted just that little bit easier. But like I say, if you wanted to play this tank a bit more stealthy-like, you could definitely run the camouflage net instead of the GLD, and you'd get the camo down to 287 meters of still concealment, which was pretty decent for a tier 7 medium tank, and that way you'd be a lot harder to spot. But when you are in positions like you're seeing here, where you can fire through concealment, it can still be fairly difficult for you to be able to get spotted. So as you can see, this first game here, with this short 88mm gun, we're up to 3.1k damage with 1411 assistance. We managed to get 4 kills as well, and we've just generally had a pretty nice game here for the 3002D, and it is as pretty simple as you want to get to it, which is flank with this tank, use the short 88mm DPM, and you will farm for days when it gets going. It's just the penetration can hold you back at times. As we finished with the Ace Tanker with the 1975 base XP. A really nice game there with that short 88mm gun. But now we're on to the fun, and the fun aspect of the tank can be the derp gun. Because, you know, the short 88mm gun it's the super serious gun. It's the serious gun that you can have some serious plays with, and you can have some damn nice games with it. But the derp gun doesn't care about penning things. The derp gun just cares about derping. And derp is love, derp is life. We do love a derp gun here on this channel. And it's a meme that you can do it with the 3002D. I did 3-mark the Panther with the derp gun a wee while ago, and that was a meme. It was a terrible meme, but it was a meme nonetheless. And like I say, with the 3002D, you are far better off taking that 88mm gun on average. But this derp gun can be funny, because naturally, when you get those pens with the heat rounds into tanks' sides and rears, you can do a lot of damage that they don't expect. And it's fairly similar to what... It's the funny thing is, it's a fairly similar way to what the VK2801, the tier 6 German light tank, used to be like. And that is that you're a really mobile tank, you have a derp gun, and you're not afraid to use it. Now, it's always a sad time that that VK2801 ended up losing that derp gun when they changed it, when they brought in tier 10 light tanks, because that was such a fun tank. And that's what this tank does remind me of. And to be fair, you have fairly similar matchmaking in it as well, because the tier 6 light tank used to see up to tier 9, whereas this thing sees up to tier 9 as well, right? But you are just a standard tier 7. But you don't quite have the horsepower that that tank used to have, or the camo. And that tank was great fun. I do miss the VK2801. But it gives me those vibes, and that's what I'm here for. I'm absolutely here for that. And we just love derping away. So with this derp gun, you've got a 5.7 second reload, which is pretty quick for a derp gun, which is very nice. You got 53 pen on the standard HE, with 104 pen on the premium heat rounds. Never bother with the AP rounds, because quite frankly, they're just not worth the effort. You may as well just load heat and HE. And you got 410 damage on the HE, with 350 damage on the 104 pen heat rounds. You got 470 meters a second shell velocity on the HE round, with 376 on the heat. So these shells really do loop. They are terrible shell velocity, but that's because you're a derp gun. Your damage is going to be inconsistent because you're a howitzer firing HE, which means occasionally you're going to do 7 damage to the top of a Tiger 1 stock turret, and occasionally you're going to do 84 by shooting it in the front. And occasionally, you might pen something for 400 odd. You might be able to damage the top of a Tiger P for 193 with the HE round, because why not? HE, derp is love, derp is life. The thing is, you don't particularly have to aim for a weak spot. All you've got to do is just aim to hit the tank and fire. Now, there is some effort into where you're going to be putting the shots, because the weaker the section of armor that you hit, the more likely you are to do more damage. Because, obviously, if you're hitting weaker armor plates, the splash damage is splashing all over that section, and it's just going to do more damage than hitting a thickly armored section of armor. And the one thing you always want to do with these derp guns is try and aim underneath the tank and try and track people. Track people, why? Because number 1, you'll get tracking assist. Number 2, you pin people down, and because of how fast this gun fires, you can actually perma-track at times, especially if they don't take trap mechanic. And then, to add to that, if you're firing HE underneath people, and you'll see it quite often when I'm using these derp guns, I will aim underneath a tank into the sides of the tracks on either side that I can see underneath. Because what will happen is that the splash radius, which for this vehicle is 1.91, which isn't the biggest splash radius in the universe for a derp gun, means that it will splash over the whole underside of the vehicle, which is a really, usually, weakly armoured plate, meaning I will splash for more HE damage, which is why you always want to be doing that. It's why hitting this cupola of the Tiger P splashes for a lot of damage, because the turret armour of the Tiger P, the turret roof, really isn't that thick, so you always do more damage as opposed to shooting the front of a T-43, which is more thickly armoured than that, and you do 15.9. So we're up to 2018 damage with 1372 assistance damage, and now was the time to actually push. We see the side of that Skoda T25. We knew we could pen it with HE, and we did for 400 odd. Go for the shot in to finish him off, and oh, sadly the shot missed, because derp gun, and it derps. It's in the name, people. Derp gun be derpy. It will miss a lot. You do have a 2.12 second aim time with this gun as well, which means it does take actually, to be honest, for a derp gun, it doesn't take that long to aim in, but it's still pretty long to get it fully aimed in. And then you've got a 2.04 accuracy during rotation with a 4.54 accuracy during movement, which means the aim circle is absolutely humongous after that. So that adds to the derpy nature of this tank. And you saw with the first game we finished with the 1 kill, the first class, the Steel Wall, the High Caliber, the Confederate with 1813 base XP. A good little bit of a meme game there for the 3002D, where we just slapped up with the HE. We did what we wanted to on that choke point, was just keep poking non-stop, avoiding the shots of the enemy team, and just derping away where we could, constantly chipping away at the enemy vehicles. And the thing is, since you are a 105mm howitzer gun, you are going to be damaging crew members as well quite often if you're hitting those weak spots. I can imagine we were probably killing the commander of that Tiger P with the shots that we're hitting in spots, which can be super frustrating for the enemy vehicles when you're doing that. So we're on to this third replay. In the third replay, we're here on Sand River. On Sand River, what I always want to do is come to this position here so I can get the cross, spot the people before they get up onto the dunes, and then I can just try and get some early cheeky shots in and then run away the moment they do get on the dunes, because they will outspot me on the dunes quite a lot of the time, and I will die. But we've caught out the piggies, by the way. Oh, beautiful scenes as we got rid of one piggy. The second shot sadly didn't go into him. Looking for the shot into the BDR as he's crossing. I've been fairly lucky here, to be honest, because, well, we're unspotted now, so we can fire away. But those TDs on the dune should have penned me, to be quite honest. Now, the angling on this armor is really good. It's not very thick, though. So that's what I'm talking about with the armor on this tank, in the fact that it can ricochet shots simply because of the angling. But don't ever rely on it, because it will let you down. Now, we got a penetration there on the Basotto. I RBRT'd it because there's a lot of the time you can actually hit tanks over ridge lines quite easily. Because of the shell velocity being poor, the shell will arc upwards and over ridge lines where you can't actually see the tank sometimes, and you'll hit the target. It's just a little known tip that you can do with certain derp guns that have bad shell velocity, in that sometimes you can't physically see the target, but if you RBRT, you can actually shoot straight over a ridge line and it just arcs the shell over. And that's what we did to the Basotto, and because the Basotto's got no armor, we could pen it with 53 pen, and we did for nearly 400, which is beautiful. So, we've moved out that position I was in. That position had lost its usefulness, and like I say, it was at that time where the TDs I couldn't see, and I was getting detected every time I was poking over and firing, and we were risking it for a biscuit a little bit too much at that point, so I decided to get out of dodge and move over to this position here, where we are now getting some shots towards this P43, which I might be able to pen with heat rounds to that little cupola or the side of his turret. So I switched to the heat rounds here, pen the shot for 354, putting him down to 137 hit points, switch back to the HE, because I don't really need the heat round now for that P43. And it's one of those things that you always want to be thinking about, is where can I pen things with the heat? And that's where it takes a little bit of the skill and knowledge to know exactly where you're going to be able to shoot something to pen it with the heat rounds. Because the heat rounds have that 104 pen, they're fairly low penetration, but there's a lot of plates that you can pen with that. So it's just about knowing exactly where and when you can use those heat rounds, and you'll have a good time when you do. Oh, we can just about see the S51. We actually ended up spotting him, but we couldn't see anywhere to shoot him. So I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to move up. Looking at where these guys are, they're all behind the ridgeline at G1. Just keep an eye on the TD that's currently engaged in a battle with a medium tank at C3. And I'm just going to ignore it, because I feel like that medium tank's got that in the bag. You can see I keep watching it. This is the Britannia Panther against an AT2. But there we go, the Britannia does finish off the AT2, and now we can get below the gun line of the people that are along this one line, spot them up, and try and derp away at them. So we find the SMV CC67. Hello, Jimmy. Sorry, I don't want to hurt you, but you're on the enemy team. I must hurt you. It is what it is. But piggies! And we get the shot into the back of the piggy there, securing our third kill of this game with 2.5k damage. And that's a Demetrius right there, because that was the second kill on artillery. We've got the back end of the Absolution here, but I didn't want to poke over too much in case of taking a hit from the SMV. But then I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go for it anyway. We took the hit from the SMV, put some shots into the BDR and into this Absolution, trying to make them think twice about shooting my friends down below. But I'm basically full hit points. I know that the SMV is stock, so he's only going to hit me for about 240, so I can take the risk to poke over. So the Absolution is currently not particularly paying attention to me, so I poke over to get rid of a gun out of this game, and that is Mr. BDR. Shut him down. Now the SMV can't really shoot me. I'm trying to get shots into the side of the Absolution here with my HE rounds so I can track him in place. Now the SMV's turned around, I thought maybe I could pen the SMV in the side with my HE round, but sadly, not the case. The Absolution is now a one-shot, so we finish off the Absolution there with a shot to his side and secure our 5th kill of the game. I was really hoping to possibly pick up the kill on the SMV, which is why I went for it, but sadly not, so we couldn't secure the top gun. But we finished the game with 5 kills, 3,000 damage, 2k assistance, the ace tanker, Pascuchis, the scout medal, the high caliber, with 2,033 base XP. That game was from a wee while ago, but Derpers love Derpers life. This is the VK3002D with the Derp. It hasn't really changed in quite a while. And yeah, we just love a bit of derping on this channel every now and then. It's just fun to bring out these kinds of tanks. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. And also, my lord, that was from 2023. That was a long, long time ago. Wow. That feels like that game was only yesterday. Oof. Time, people. Catches up with everyone.
A great success!